Like a lot of times in life, the more we look, the more we lose. What I mean by that is, I feel like we spend a lot of times in search for things that we already have within us. We spend a lot of times worrying about things that we want to possess. And for that reason, I think we take life way too seriously. And I've already made a video about how we take life too seriously. But like my main offering, or what I think should be done instead of seriousness, is intention. Don't take life too seriously. Don't take life serious. Be intentional. I feel like intention is sort of the bridge. Intention is sort of the key for relaxed effort. Doing things for a purpose, but not necessarily for an outcome. Like doing it for a reason, but not the reason, making sure the reason is not just the outcome. Just doing it to do it. Doing it so, you're within it, or doing it so it's done. I feel like that's sort of the point. That's part of what I think is embracing the self and finding yourself. Because I feel like when we're too focused on what things do for us in terms of the outcome, we lose a lot of ourselves within the processes of doing that something. It somewhat makes it more difficult to achieve anything, especially in a sense of self. Like constantly working in cultivation or constantly working to gain is just going to take you away from yourself. The more you look, the more you lose. He who squints his eyes in search has obscure vision. The more we focus on one thing, the more we lose everything around it. If we're only focused on the outcome, then when we're actually doing the task, we can't be there. And that's not to say don't be driven towards your goals and desires. That's to say be present enough to realize when you're working and put that work in. I feel like part of that cultivation and part of bringing stuff in terms of what you want, is being present while you're doing the things you need to get them. It's about a relationship. The law of attraction works in the sense that, like, or at least I think so. Like, you have to, what you want. You already feel like you're having it, and you do the steps and you do the things you need to do in order to get to this point. And sometimes, it's not like a clear cut path, but you do things that are going to help in your progression towards a better self, or towards a better reality, or whatever you want to call it. But at a very bottom line, at a very baseline level, what it's about is letting go. It's about not being attached too much to our desires, but being attached to ourselves. Not necessarily our identity, not necessarily who you think you are, but in what you do. In you being present and conscious in this right now. When you are beyond sort of a connotation, beyond sort of a comparison, I feel like that's where the most fun happens. That's where you sort of escape this realm of constant anxiety. You start to move in a way that's sort of befitting of you and only you. That's not to say you're not being received well by society, but to say you're being received well by yourself. And in being received well by yourself, it's about embracing it. It's about noticing the points where you're doing things that truly help you in your cultivation, truly help you in your realization of your own idealism and your own idea of self. Because I feel like a lot of people feel like they don't know themselves, and I feel like to some extent you never should. But that isn't to say you shouldn't be comfortable with who you are. But to that same token, hear me out. Even if you are comfortable with who you are, that doesn't necessarily mean you want to remain stagnant. I feel like we should always be, not necessarily in a constant search for what parts of us needs to be changed, but don't ignore the signs. Don't ignore the parts of ourselves that are seeking out change, because what we put behind us is what we carry on our backs. I feel like a lot of times people disregard their issue because you achieve one thing and you're like, okay, I don't really need to worry about this anymore. And I feel like it gets to a point where you stop knowing. You stop knowing what parts of you are seeking out change because there's so much. I feel like to the same token, in the human experience, you're always looking for issue. And it's about reaction to that issue. It's about knowing how to process issue and realizing that most issues and most things are a reflection of you, but they're not you. In the same sense that, like, You can see a lot of negativity in the world, and it can be caused by you having a negative mindset. But that doesn't necessarily mean that's who you are and that's who you're stuck being. That just means that's the vibration. That's the person you're emulating and expressing right now. In saying that, I mean we always have time for change. We always have time for growth, and we always have time to continue to develop as people and become better. Part of the idea of like embracing the self, because that's the topic I really wanted to address. The whole idea of embracing the self is realizing that there is no self to like get past. Who you are isn't this stagnant thing, and you have to stop putting yourself in a box in regards to your expression, your reaction, and everything. Not to say be fake, not to say be ingenuine, but find out who you truly are, as in like find out the things you really like. Find out the little bits and pieces of the world that make you feel most like yourself and make you feel most related to everyone around you. Because I don't know, even with this channel, when I write, I feel like there's a certain connection I feel to literally anybody who does anything. And you sort of start to see the way in everything. I don't really know how to explain it, but in the same way I talk about, intention and being there and being holistically you, and expressing yourself in a way that's exemplary of yourself, or shows yourself, or embodying your self-love and letting the world just show you that. I see that in others. And I feel like that only compounds upon the ideas I kind of profess or talk about. It's really about learning how to see without looking, learning how to observe without connotating, learning how to appreciate without making the something you're appreciating a part of yourself. It's about that giving out of love, of light, of positivity. And the more you do that, the more it comes back to you. And I'm not saying it comes back to you in a sense like you appreciate this, someone's going to appreciate you. But the more you learn to appreciate yourself in general, the less you'll need external validation. The more you'll realize that a lot of the bits and pieces of ourselves that we seek in others, we need to find in ourselves, or we already have for ourselves. And it's not necessarily something that's expected for other people to give us, but ourselves to give ourselves. Other people can help us feel more complete, but at the end of the day, your own completion is up to you. It's about what other people make you feel about yourself, not them. You can love someone so much, and they can show you the parts of yourself that you need to love yourself. But at the end of the day, it's always looped back to how you feel about you and how we move forward from there. I apologize for the sniffing, yo. The pollen allergy is punching. Regardless, it's about being there for yourself, realizing that if you don't have your own back, not saying nobody else will, I'm saying that if you don't have your own back, you're more likely to collapse. You're more likely to fall. You have to sort of bury your own foundation in yourself. At least that way, when you do collapse, you know the reasons. You know the sort of the links to your own demise. You know what parts of you caused this, and you know how to address them in the future. Because at the end of the day, you know what you need. 99% of who we are is internal. The 1% is the external expression. That's why I say people don't really know who you are on a real level. Not to say people can't get to know you, but to say there are parts of you, there is a subconscious level of you that no one can understand. And that's why I say you have to make sure you're being intentional. Because when you're relating with other people, when you're living in this world, I feel like a lot of people do stuff semi-intentionally. They have an idea in mind how they want it to be received, but they don't know how they're professing it. Being intentional enough to realize how what you say affects others, and how what you say impacts you. I feel like the most careful critic we need to address is ourselves. You can't constantly be berating yourself with negativity, because you'll start to agree. You'll start to believe that something. He who says he can and he who says he can't are both correct. The more you compound upon this idea that you're not enough for yourself, you never will be. How are you not enough for you? You are you. You know? It doesn't really, it's like a paradox. It doesn't really make sense. How can you not be enough for yourself? You're literally everything you are. And I feel like you have to find comfort in that. Comfort in the realization that you're stuck with this person forever, and that person is you. And smile because of it. Why not? Like, make yourself something you want to love, or love yourself until you become something you love. It's about just looking yourself in the mirror and telling yourself that. Affirmation of the entire idea of you. And if you made it this far in the video, I'm gonna cut it a little short, y'all. My allergy is killing me. Oh my goodness. Thank y'all so much for watching. I'm gonna try to get some Benadryl or something like that. But appreciate y'all. Keep being intentional. Make sure you're practicing some sort of self-love or intention. All in all, keep being you, keep being great. Thank you for watching. If you made it this far, let me know in the comments if your allergies is kicking y'all like it's kicking me. All in all, treat yourself like someone you're trying to help. Make sure you're being intentional. I keep saying that. I feel like intention is at the end of the day, everything. Intention is everything. Intention is everything you do. So thank you.